Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
Talent bench. Today we're talking about building your talent bench. We're going to teach you how to develop strategies for planning and building pipeline, as well as developing relationships with A players. I'm Rick Girard, and welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. Our mission is to discuss and deconstruct insights from top-performing entrepreneurs and industry experts. Every week, we uncover tested tactical solutions to solve your company's toughest hiring challenges. Today, our guest is Ken Schmitt. Ken is the founder and CEO of TurningPoint Executive Search down in San Diego. Ken grew up in an entrepreneurial household with a father who was a Jack-in-the-Box franchisee for 25 years. That must have been fun.
A lot of fun, yes.
Lots of tacos.
Lots of free coupons.
And a mother who left the accounting world to become a real estate agent. After 9 years working for a local boutique firm, as well as one of the largest executive staffing firms, Heidrick Struggles, he launched TurningPoint in 2007. In the past 2 years, TurningPoint has been ranked one of the top 150 fastest growing private companies in San Diego. Congratulations, nice work.
Thank you, thank you.
And he's also the founder and CEO of Sales and Marketing Leadership Alliance, SMLA, and the annual Sales and Market Leader of the Year Awards. Ken is a thought leader in executive search and takes a high-touch concierge approach to placing first-class talent, which makes him a perfect guest for today's topic. Ken, welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show today.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So we're going to cover a few things today. We're talking about building a bench. I just found out today that you're a big baseball fan,
Yes.
so we can bust out a bunch of sports analogies. I think I have like 3. We're going to cover the importance of a proactive kind of talent strategy, building your pipeline, and then when and how to tap into that pipeline. So let's start first with the why. So right now, when people are hiring, the process is reactive, right? So
Very much so.
let's talk about building this bench. So why build a bench?
Well, I think it's, for any aspect of your business, you want to be out in front of whatever the challenge, whatever the issue might be, whether it's talent acquisition, whether it's, revenue, whether it's brand or marketing, positioning. You want to do what you can to really control the situation, right? And not have to be forced into making a decision that's more time-based and it's less, quality-based. So building a bench on the talent side is just the same. You want to be able to have people in your network, in your repertoire, on your bench, available, ready to go, that that they know you, and it's just a matter of when the right situation opens up for them in terms of a position, that's when you reach out. But you don't want to wait until your hand is forced, where somebody leaves your company or someone retires or something happens to them, and now you're forced to fill that gap quickly, and your quality, your focus on quality is diminished because of that. Yeah,
and you're effectively costing yourself a lot more money.
You are, right, exactly.
So I always believe in let's make the recruiting process like a sales process, right? I mean, we are effectively salespeople as well.
Exactly.
And so if you're treating it that way, you're gonna structure it quite differently. Let's avoid starting at ground zero every time, right?
Right, exactly. Kind of recreate the wheel every time. You see it so often out there. Even among clients that hire us, that retain us to fill positions, you're asking them what you think are somewhat basic questions, and in reality they haven't thought through it really. They just know that Sally Smith left this position. Let's find another Sally Smith. When in reality the company probably changed dramatically over the time when Sally was first hired and today, so the needs and the skill set for that position have also changed.
Yeah. Well, and also when Sally is leaving, take advantage of that. Don't start the search after she's already left. Get her to help you write the job description.
Right, exactly.
Like, have her outline exactly what the work is that she's been doing and, where she sees the work going. I mean, why not take advantage of that? Unless somebody leaves abruptly, of course. But so you definitely want to plan for this.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, it's important to have that bench no matter what the market looks like, but especially in even more accelerated situations today when the market is what 4% national unemployment in many key areas of the country. It's less than 2% or 2.5%.
2.9 here in
It's
Orange
crazy.
County.
So effectively, there are no people, or very, very few people that are in transition. You're going to have to go after people that are currently employed to fill your open positions. And you need time for that. You need to build that trust. They need to know who you are, that you're genuine, and that your company is going in a certain direction. To have that conversation in a more reactive, very shortened time frame because you're trying to fill a gap in your talent team is very difficult. It's very tough to do. Whereas if you have a longer conversation over 6, 9, 12 months and get to know that person, they know you. Now when that gap opens up and someone leaves the company, or even better, you open up a brand new position that fits that person's skill set, now you've got that person ready to go and that trust factor is there. And the interviewing process, the courting process, if you will, is shortened dramatically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, you brought up a key point here, too, which was the fact is that you're going to save a lot of time and money in this process. Just courting and having those relationships with people so they know who you are. I think a lot of companies that are effective, more mid-sized companies do a great job at this. Because they've already got the relationships with people when they bring in a new VP of engineering and he brings in a team with him. I mean, so there's a certain level of that can and should happen, especially with smaller companies. I agree.
And I think, to your point of smaller companies, small to mid-sized companies that are not going to have a sizable internal talent acquisition team, if one at all. A lot of them are not really abreast of what's going on in terms of trends, whether it's skill set, whether it's compensation. If you're waiting until reactive mode to jump in and try to figure things out, again, you aren't able to collect as many data points. Whereas if you're having ongoing conversations with a handful of folks that are the experts in their field, that are the A players out there, you're going to know as people are getting bonuses, as they're getting bumped up in base salary, as commission structures are changing, as equity plans are changing, you're going to be ahead of the curve when it comes to actually trying to find somebody, as opposed to trying to react and figure out how can we bring somebody in at this level and still keep it in parity with our existing employee base.
So the key here is planning, right?
Right.
I mean, so let's kind of help them with building what the foundation of a plan would look like. So I think first and foremost, you have to have a proactive mindset.
Right. Exactly. Right.
And if you don't have it, you probably aren't going to get too far in business, I would imagine.
True. Yeah, and I think, and also, again, like every other function within an organization, having the plan and being proactive, but also enlisting, all the key stakeholders. I think, a big challenge these days and a big deficit that I see out there is too many companies rely solely on HR or solely on recruiting to do the entire process, and they don't enlist the expertise, the insights and perspectives of the hiring managers early enough. And the hiring manager doesn't take enough time to spend with the HR team to really give them a true sense of what kind of person will fit in that job. It's more of a check-the-box mentality, and that's very difficult for HR to work with when they have 30 or 35 different recs, different open positions, everything from chief science officer to executive admin to accounting manager. They really can't delve into each person's background with only a superficial understanding of what the job is. So it's incumbent upon the hiring managers and the full executive team, as well as HR, to really have that plan in place.
Well, and just on a secondary note, just to add to that, is that to add to your point, is that it's transactional that way. Again, if you're reactive to the thing, it's going to be a transactional process because all you really have to do, all you really have to offer is the money, as opposed to really anything else substantial.
Right, exactly. Yeah, very much so. And like we're, for example, our firm, we work nationally, so our clients are spread throughout the country, but we focus on, two key functional areas, those being everything sales related and everything marketing related. And for example, over the last, 18, 20 months, the marketing function in particular has really seen a big uptick and a big kind of resurgence in importance. Now, companies that, either outsource or let go of their marketing team and haven't hired somebody for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, they really don't have any idea of what the compensation levels are out there. They're trying to hire a CMO with a base of $100,000. It's not going to happen. It would have happened in the recession years, but today there's not enough good talent out there available to make that move, and they're not going to move for a lateral, that's for sure.
Are you seeing a shift between sales and marketing?
In terms of compensation?
No, just in terms of the amount of demand.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And again, with the unemployment rate being as low as it is, you've got to find people, or you're forced to find people that are currently working.
Yeah.
So we tell our clients, if you want to hire a base of, let's say, 150, the question is, can we find somebody right now at a base of 130? And if not, you've got to come up on your expectations, because they're not going to move for the same compensation to go from company A to company B.
So messaging is important.
Right, exactly,
so,
right. And back to your point of planning before.
Yeah.
Know beforehand what you're going to have to pay before you jump out there and try to find somebody.
Absolutely. And one more thing just to add on to that proactive mindset is start thinking about recruiting as a revenue generating activity.
Very much so, yeah. And I think in certain functions it's easier. In the sales function, it's probably the single easiest way to do it, because obviously you're in a situation where it is a matter of these people that we bring on board are going to affect the top line.
Yeah.
But these days where marketing and sales are so much more integrated, much more of a circular relationship versus linear, then it's a little easier to justify and quantify the results and the impact on the top and bottom line when you hire marketing folks as well. But yeah, think about it in that way.
Yeah, there's a lot more metrics coming out right now
Right.
that help marketing actually add value.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, especially with data.
Right, and very true. And then, back to the idea of planning as well. It's the hard skills that are certainly important, but beyond that, you also want to make sure that you've got the soft skills. I mean, if you read all the CEO surveys that are out there, in the top one or two responses is always, here's what's missing from folks that we're seeing. They don't have the soft skills. They can't communicate well enough. They can't work across departments. And with sales and marketing, that is incredibly important these days.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking to Ken Schmitt, the founder and CEO of TurningPoint Executive Search. We're going to take a quick break because I want to kind of backload the second part, because we're going to give you guys a bit of an outlook on how to kind of solve a bunch of these problems. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a moment.
You're listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard, giving you access to recruiting techniques that will help you hire key talent to build your company towards real success. Rick is a recruiting executive and entrepreneur who's been successfully recruiting in the aggressive Silicon Valley technology landscape for the past 2 decades. After a very successful stint at Apogee, he founded Stride Search in 2012. Based on a lean efficiency model, Stride has uniquely positioned itself as a leader in retained search for the most critical talent hires within a small organization. Whether you're a startup executive or recruiting professional, by listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard, you will walk away with skills to help you attract and hire great talent. Now back to Higher Power with Rick Girard.
Welcome back to the Higher Power Radio Show. I'm your host, Rick Girard, and our guest today is Ken Schmitt, the founder and CEO of TurningPoint Executive Search. We're talking about how to build an effective recruiting bench so that when you're ready to pull the trigger and bring people on board for your company, you can effectively do it with really little resistance. So we just discussed kind of the why and the foundation of how to do it. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how to build out a pipeline or a bench, or however we want to talk about it. So I always live by the. Do you ever see? I think it was Glenn Ross, Geary, where they talk about coffees for closers and always be closing.
Right, exactly.
So I like the always be recruiting, right?
I'm the same way, right?
I think no matter what, when you're out and you're meeting people and you meet people that are impressive and you have conversations, start developing those relationships. And I think that CEOs can do it, and everybody should be doing it.
Yeah, no matter where you are, whether you're in, there's always the cliche of the elevator pitch, right? If you're in an elevator, what would you say to a potential employee? But same thing, if you're out at a restaurant, if you're at a sporting outing as well, you're at a conference, you're at a trade show, those are all places to find potential employees for different spots in your organization. So being aware of it and keeping it top of mind is key.
Now, don't ask them if they're looking for a job.
Right.
But, show an interest and find out what's going on with them.
Exactly.
If you do the direct, hey, you're looking for a job approach, that usually doesn't work too well.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Especially for people who are passive candidates.
Yes, very true.
All right, so let's build a pipeline here. So how do you approach, and how would you recommend approaching and building a pipeline? So let's share what we do. Maybe they can transfer over to what a company might do.
Yeah, certainly. I think whether you're an outside search firm like the two of us, or whether you're an internal talent acquisition team, it's really the same approach for in a lot of ways. I think we're more the specialists, so we focus
Sure.
in specific areas, but the same approach can be applied across the board. So really, we look at 3 different, I call them buckets, if you will, or resources. First is our database, because we specialize and concentrate in sales and marketing. We have that place to go to, and we look at previous positions as well. One of the things I think companies miss, honestly, is they don't do a very good job in many cases looking at previous applicants for other positions they may have filled.
Mining their own data.
Yeah, or somebody may have been too junior for a director level position, but now lo and behold, you have a director level position open up. Why not go back to that search and look at those folks?
Yep.
So I think that's a big step 1, if you will. Step 2 for us is our referral network. So people that we know that they themselves won't be the right fit, but they know people that are.
Yeah.
So it could be a CPA, it could be your trusted advisor on the insurance side, or it could be a financial advisor. There's a pretty broad ecosystem out there that hopefully you have intact that you can leverage and reach out to find those referrals.
Well, now going back to the first one, which was the why don't they mine their own data properly? So is it laziness, or is it a situation where they just forget about it?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Or
I'm even amazed when I see clients that come to us and they've tried recruiting supposedly on their own for a while, and I look at their website and the job they're trying to fill is nowhere to be found. They opted to pay money to put it on a job board somewhere, which is not all that effective in today's market.
No.
But they haven't even leveraged their own resources in their website. So in terms of why they don't go back to the database, I think back to your point earlier, it tends to be more of a mentality of recreate the wheel every time, as opposed to leveraging previous searches. And I think that's something that with a decent applicant tracking system, with a decent process in place internally, you can do that much more efficiently these days with keyword searches.
See, I don't really have a problem if they don't put it on their website. Actually, I recommend they put it on their website, but not so much. I mean, if it's a key executive search, you probably don't want to put it out there.
Sure, of course, right?
But if but putting it out on a job board, I think is a bigger waste of money.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
in today's
you got
market
a free
especially.
right. You have a free resource on your website as opposed to putting it out on a job board.
Right. If you look at the stats out there as well, I mean, that term, the hidden job market's been around for decades, right?
Yeah.
Since when you and I first got into the business years ago, and it's still very much alive today. About 75 to 82% of all jobs get filled through a hidden job market. In other words, it's not through a job posting. It's not even through a search firm. It's through a referral or someone's ecosystem and network, or an internal employee referral. And so companies need to be more aware of that and leverage those resources, I think, more effectively also.
What I found, though, is I've talked to entrepreneurs where we talk about, hey, your number one source for employees should come through referrals, and they look at me like, wow, that I blew their mind.
Exactly, right. That's very true.
You mean, well, I've had
that
this,
works, yeah.
Yeah, because I've been looking on Indeed for people, and as amazing as that is, I've also talked to organizations where they rely so heavily on that, and the recruiting process is completely upside down. So,
true.
What referral incentives do you actually have in there? So, let's hop to that then, the employee referrals, because I think that cuts you and I out of a job. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you're trying to get a key person in, that's probably a great place. I mean, that's the best place
you should
to
at least start there. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, if you tried to leverage your network, tried to leverage your employee referrals, and after a month or two have just come up short, then yes, go out to a search firm, and that's where our more focused approach and strategy is very, very effective.
Yeah.
But you at least need to start with your employees.
Yeah.
And plus, employees really are looking for other ways to contribute to the company. If they like the job, they like the company, they enjoy the culture out there, who better to tap into to find somebody else like them to come in and do another job? It's fantastic. And you can just from a pure economic standpoint as well, you're able to save quite a bit of money. If you pay an employee even $1,000 referral bonus, maybe you pay them $500 when the person gets hired, another $500 when the person reaches their 90-day probationary period is over. That $1,000 goes a long way for most employees, as opposed to paying a recruiting fee, which is quite a bit higher. And again, you have that culture fit is kind of built in right from day one with that referral.
Even if you paid them $5,000, it's probably a lot less than a recruiting fee.
Exactly right. Yeah. Very true. Very true.
So,
yep.
I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. And I've talked to employees where I tell them I'm working on on a role, and they sound surprised. They didn't know anything about
right,
it.
exactly right. There's no internal communication about the role being open. Even though for a non-confidential search, there's really no reason why, again, the hiring manager, but also the HR team, if there is one, to circulate that. Hey, everybody, we're looking to hire a new sales manager for our, Northwest territory. Who do you know? Let us know. Oh, by the way, remember, there's a $1,000 or $5,000 referral bonus for anybody that refers somebody to us that we hire.
Now, here's a thing that I think is really key. Don't have your employees reach out to those people.
Right. Yep.
Because you need a point person, and you need somebody to reach out and kind of do the selling.
Tell the story, right?
Yeah,
True.
because, employees, they're just going to, hey, you know what, we're hiring you. You're looking for a job.
Right, do you want this job? Yeah. Right, exactly.
And they don't really properly kind of set it up and sell the opportunity in most cases. I love my job. I mean, unless you have an employee who's just ridiculously passionate about the company, but those are fairly rare.
Right, true, exactly. And, the third, bucket, if you will, a resource that we tap into that we were discussing before to find people is social media. And for us, that's LinkedIn. Yeah. Right. And I wrote a book actually a couple of years ago about, LinkedIn secrets for hiring sales and marketing leaders.
What's your book?
And it's actually called LinkedIn Hiring LinkedIn Secret. Yeah. So it's LinkedIn Secrets for Sales and Marketing Managers. Yes. Exactly. Right. On Amazon. Anyway. But yeah, so and it really talks about just the importance of building that network, building that ecosystem, and then leveraging that network when it comes to hiring somebody. That's what it's all about. So same kind of thing. You can find out so much about your employees' contacts by looking at their network and being a contact of theirs in LinkedIn and get a sense for the profile before you even make that phone call.
And here's a spoiler alert. When we are recruiting for your company, we're typically looking at the employees that you have, and we're working through their networks too.
Right, exactly.
I'm looking up with everybody in your company, and I'm figuring out, okay, who are they attached to?
Exactly. There's a great function in LinkedIn where you look at, if I look at Rick's profile, it'll show me automatically people that looked at Rick's profile also looked at these people, and here's another 10 people that in most cases, match up pretty well with Rick's background. So, there's no reason to not take advantage of that, and that's for free. You don't have to pay for a recruiter seat or premium LinkedIn network to get into that. That's part of the free service.
Yeah, exactly. So another piece that we try to focus in on are top performers, right? So here's another piece I think that companies can add value, and this is a little trickier to find. Find people that are within similar industries that are key people.
Sure.
And develop the relationships with those people.
Right, exactly. And I think that's to your point also. There's another key area of focus is don't look solely at your own industry, but look at other ancillary industries as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because if you're looking for somebody who's currently doing exactly what they're doing in another company, and you want them to come do the same thing in your company, what do you have to offer them?
Right, exactly. What's the change? What's the motivation?
You just got to pay them a lot of money.
Right, exactly.
That's the only motivation that you have.
Unless you have something unique where it's less travel, or maybe you can offer equity. Maybe you're an earlier stage company and you don't have as much on the cash side for compensation, but you have equity you can offer them as well. Yeah. So there are different things there. But you're right. I mean, no one's in today's job market with unemployment as low as it is. Very few people are going to make a lateral move without some kind of a compelling story or explanation as to why they should make that change.
Yeah.
Regardless of function.
You've got to be poised to be a billion-dollar company and they're willing to give up something, or there's a pain point in their current company. Like you mentioned, maybe it's less travel. They have a family with small kids and they don't want to travel as much.
Exactly.
But you got to invest the time up front to find that out.
Right. And back to your point before, that's why it's important for not just the employee who's making the referral, but really for the hiring manager or the talent acquisition person internally to have that conversation with that potential new hire. Yeah. So you can tell that story in a much broader sense where the employee that made the referral may not even be privy to all that information too. There's a lot of folks that we find out there in sales and marketing in particular where they love being in a smaller company. They joined their current company 4 or 5, 10 years ago when there was maybe $25, $30 million. Now it's grown so much, they're a $150 million company, and it's lost that agility. They've lost their ability to make a big impact, and they want to get back to that. So that's another compelling opportunity for them to make that change and move companies.
Mid-sized companies are always great targets.
Exactly, right.
Especially somebody who's been... I tend to target people who have been at a company for a long time.
Ssure, right.
Because they got to be bored out of their mind at some point, right?
Very true, very true.
So, Now, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the show. And, without having like a system like we both have that tracks applicants. And so what are some suggestions that we can give them that'll help them to kind of keep track of this? I mean, you could just build out a simple Excel spreadsheet.
You can, exactly right. You can use basically, as long as you tag each field, if you will, or each employee or candidate in your basic spreadsheet, you can search on them pretty easily.
Yeah.
But there's a fair number of simple free applicant tracking systems that you can use that are open source as well.
Yeah.
Or if you want something really basic, if you're a 15 employee company, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars every month for a more complex system out there.
No.
You can use a spreadsheet, you can use the Word documents, or one of the free options as well. Just be sure that you tag everybody so that you can go back and find them again down the road.
Yeah.
And you don't run into that whole issue of having to recreate the wheel every time, like we talked about.
Yeah. I mean, you're just creating more work for yourself.
You really are. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, it's back to your point that you made in the very beginning is planning. So hopefully you have a general idea as the entrepreneur, as the CEO, or even as the investors in the company, where the company's going to go in the next 6 to 18, 24 months. And if you break that, I have a client that we've actually done some work with. They're a marketing agency. And based on his growth and expectations in terms of new clients coming on board, he has an Excel spreadsheet that talks about when I need to hire an account manager, a new BD person, a new...
See, that's fantastic.
So he's got that broken down in teams also. And then at some point when he has enough people, he'll need a leader to oversee that team, a project manager, because they can't all effectively report to the CEO. And let the CEO do their work. So have that plan in place. Nothing fancy, but just get a sense for what you're expecting down the road.
Well, and also think about this too, just as a secondary add-on, is you mentioned teams. Think about it in terms of hiring teams. So even if you could do 1 or 2 people at a time, think about what that team's going to look like and how you're going to build it out.
Exactly. And we always
as opposed to just a single person.
Right. And that's especially true on the sales side.
Yeah.
If you're hiring sales, individual contributor, non-leadership positions, if at all possible, try your best to be able to hire more than one, because they have that natural competitive spirit among them, right? And they're able to really kind of get on board at the same time, and they're all competing against each other at the same time, and they're ramping up much more quickly because they come in and got hired the same day.
Exactly. All right, cool. We're getting construction in the building in the background now.
It's fun. Keeps it exciting.
I know, right? Keeps us on our toes. So the other thing I guess would be, you need to assign somebody to own this process within your company.
Right, very much so.
When you're a small company, it's got to be CEO or maybe the COO, somebody who's kind of owning this piece of the product.
I'm a big believer in really for any function having a broader cross section of stakeholders or interviewers as part of the process. Now maybe you don't do that in step 1, but by the time you get to your 2 finalists, you should have, if it's let's say a sales manager position, you should have that final sales manager candidate meet with the head of marketing, right, or the marketing manager, meet with somebody on the finance side, because sales and finance tend to have to work together, like it or not. And even somebody on the outside as well, if there's an outside a consultant or expert that you want to talk to. So have that broader cross section of people to interview each final candidate. But that's really important for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And the process, as you said, it can be run by, depends on the structure and size of the company, but it needs to be owned by somebody. Someone needs to understand that they have the responsibility to hire this person. And when you do have that broader interview panel of internal stakeholders, make sure that before you go into it who, if anybody, has veto power, so that you understand kind of what their role is, and make sure they understand what questions they should be asking and what lens they should be using when they're screening those candidates.
Now I'm going to say something that may be a little bit unpopular, but HR may not be the best person to assign this to, too. It should be somebody who's passionate about this piece, or somebody. It could be an admin, somebody who's just keeping track of it and managing it.
Right. Well, there's the logistics part of it as well, kind of the scheduling part of it, the operational part as well. And I think even HR leaders would tell you themselves that their goal is to be a thought partner, right, a business partner, as many of them are titled business partner, a business partner to the hiring manager. Rather than owning everything 100%, they would like to work along with the hiring manager.
Absolutely.
So you have a different perspective, different set of eyeballs, and that's not just all falling on one person's shoulders.
Yeah. Well, I think HR gets offloaded a lot of things.
They
don't.
They do.
A lot of the HR people that I know don't like the recruiting piece.
Exactly. Very true. Yeah. Right.
And so if they, they're busy with so many other things.
Right.
And so, smart companies, a lot of companies like Amazon and Google, they have actually completely separated talent acquisition from HR.
Right, traditional
and
HR.
And the HR
right.
people there are so happy
Exactly,
about that.
right.
Because they have,
Well, it's
not tied to it.
it's like every function. You need to allow your employees the ability to play to their strengths.
Yeah.
Right. Just because you're an HR person doesn't mean that you love benefits or you love payroll or you love the logistics side of it, right, or the operations side. It also doesn't mean that you love recruiting. Find out what your HR people are good at, what they love, and allow them to play to those strengths.
It's a unicorn to find somebody who's good at HR and recruiting.
Right. True. Exactly.
There are people who love both. Very few, though. I mean, you either love recruiting or you love HR.
Right. Very true.
I love recruiting, not so much.
Right. Exactly.
Like I would not want to deal with compliance.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you. And it's the same as any good CEO, right? No CEO can sell the product, market the product, do all the operation for the product, build the product, be the engineer. Some might think they can do all those things, but in reality they can't. So you've got to build a team around you that leverages your strengths and then also takes care of your weaknesses. HR is the same way.
Yeah, definitely. All right, just to kind of recap, your pipeline would be what? Just go through that real quickly.
As far as the resources where you find
for
people.
a company.
Yeah, so we're finding people that are, like I said, either from our database and our previous searches. We're finding folks from our referral network and from social media as well.
Okay.
And so we're building a long list of potential candidates that we're talking to, and then we have a 4-step, pretty in-depth process that we use to screen people and vet them, and then narrow it down to the top 3 to 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that's our job.
Right. Exactly,
we have to keep in contact with people, but companies who have got a million other things on their plate are entrepreneurs. They just don't have the ability. But they can touch these people maybe once a quarter.
Sure, exactly.
Just make sure that you kind of keep these people on your radar and develop the relationship with them.
Exactly. And there are simple things like if you're building a relationship with a key employee that's elsewhere, you don't have a spot for him or her right now, but you hope to down the road. If your CEO is speaking somewhere, invite that person to come and listen.
Yeah.
If you're going to a trade show or a conference, make sure that person is going to be there as well. Maybe buy them dinner while you're there. But just finding ways to stay in touch in a way that's not selling, but instead it's really just connecting and building that trust factor.
So
it goes a long way.
Networking works?
Actually, networking, yeah. Imagine that, right.
Okay. So for me, it's I like to coach my company's employee referral program is kind of key. And if you don't have one, you should be operating at about 80 to 90% of your hires should be employee referrals.
Exactly.
Followed by search firms or outside entities, followed by job boards.
Exactly right. And the best-in-class companies out there are getting about 80% of their people, 75 to 80% of their people from employee referrals. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, just a moment for everybody. If you are relying heavily on the other end, make the changes.
Right. Very true. Exactly right.
Definitely need to get out there and and get your people more involved.
Right.
That's also a sign, by the way, of CEOs not doing a great job engaging their staff. And maybe the culture isn't what it should be.
Right. Very true. Very true. If you don't have employees that are willing to go out and refer their friends and family into the company, then there might be an issue there with retention down the road.
Yeah, most definitely. All right. So good stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure, yeah.
Unfortunately, this show flies by way too fast. We're just about out of time for today's show. Ken, thanks for your time investment today and joining us here on the Higher Power Radio Show. And I want to welcome you to the Higher Power Radio community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Glad to be here.
Now, I am sure that there are some people in our audience who are looking for sales and marketing expertise. How do they reach you?
Yeah, so you can get a hold of me at Ken S at TurningPointExecSearch.com. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn.
Will you spell that out?
Sure, it's KENS at TURNINGEXEC search.com.
Okay.
I'm on obviously Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And the phone number in the office is 760-434-5401. And our website is just TurningPointExecSearch.com.
And you guys are based in San Diego and do everything nationally. Right?
Yeah, half of our clients are in Southern California, from LA down to San Diego, but the other half are spread out completely across the country.
Nice.
Yes.
Good reach.
Thank you.
All right, I want to thank our listening audience for tuning in to this week's episode of the Higher Power Radio Show. Quick thanks to our team, our engineer Paul Roberts, our producers Andrea Ballin, Shanti Ryle, and Kim Iverson. To listen to this episode and any past episodes, you can check us out on Higher, that's H-I-R-E, Power, P-O-W-E-R, radio, R-A-D-I-O.com, or Higher Power Radio on iTunes. You can follow us on there. You can follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook at Higher Power Radio Show, or you can follow me on Instagram at RickGerard1. We have another great show lined up for you guys next week. Our guest is going to be Lisa Reed, who is a speaker and trainer of productive learning. I'm your host, Rick Girard, and you have been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard on OC Talk Radio.
Everyone knows that moving is one of the most stressful times in a person's life. And the worst part? Searching for cardboard boxes. It's absolutely prehistoric. Digging through dumpsters, going from store to store, buying stacks of them you're only going to throw away later. Well, now there's an answer. Bungo Box. Bungo boxes are durable, stackable, eco-friendly, plastic moving containers that will cut the cost of your packing supplies in half. And they're made of hard plastic, which gives you much more protection for your precious belongings. Much better than cardboard. Bungo boxes hold over 100 pounds per box, plus our boxes never, ever need tape. That's right, no tape. But since our Bungo boxes come with fitted dollies, your movers will move at the speed of light. So whether you, your friends, or your office are moving, there's really only one solution, Bungo Box. Find out more at bungoboxoc.com. That's bungoboxoc.com. Or call 714-725-7292. You order them, we deliver them. You move, we pick them up. That's bungoboxoc.com.